So I've been farming destructive play and heist for over a day now, and I finally gotten Conflag and Blast Rain of Charthus to feel like a real build. So I've made a lot of upgrades. The first things off, we ditched the Infernal Mantle. It was causing us to take a lot of extra damage. It was very strong early on for our progression, but now we had to get rid of it, and we decided to go with the Skin of the Lords, or Loyal, whatever one, the +2 one. And that feels really good as we can swap into an Empower setup on our Blast Rain of Charthus. And then I also improved all of my gems. We're now running Awakened gems. I also got a 21 Charthus and a 21 Conflagration. Those were pretty easy. I just had to go buy a bunch of Blast Rain of Charthuses and level them up myself and then double corrupt them. That was pretty simple. And now we're finally getting to the point where I need to make an update for the build because I'm rich right now and I'm about to invest a lot of extra currency into this build, and I can't feel good without actually making an update video because I don't want to leave you guys in the dust and be like, hey guys, I just invested another 10 div in my build, haha, catch up, you know? So we're going to talk about it at this current point. Now, other things that I have learned so far, I have learned that AoE scaling isn't as important with Blast Rain of Charthus as long as you are running Conflagration on the Maniforge setup. I don't need as much area as I was thinking, so we unspecialized some area. I also kept the Recoup on the build. I really have been enjoying Recoup as I've swapped Purity of Elements for a Grace after getting a little bit of extra elemental resistance and getting my freeze immunity, meaning I can run a Grace, and that combined with the Skin of Loyal mean I'm at like 70% evasion. I'm still not suppress capped. That'll take a lot more investment currently. Right now we're sitting at 40%, which is unfortunately a little low, but it's what we have to have right now, right? Like that, like what else are we gonna do? I do have impecular like fizz damage reduction because of the comms belt and elementalist still. For the most part, if I get hit by a fizz attack, as long as I've hit them recently, I'm completely fine in terms of fizz damage, especially now that I have Grace, which helps me deal with all of the bullshit deaths. Other things. I've been farming destructive play and heist mainly just because I like heist. I've actually kind of fell in love with heist this league, mainly just because I was forced to run it so early on, and I've just been doing blueprints and stuff like that. I haven't hit anything major, anything crazy. Maybe I got like a div here and there, but I haven't like hit like a simplex amulet or something like that. But pretty much the idea is we run silo. If you're not familiar with destructive play, we run silo, we kill mobs on the way, we grab heist containers, and I'm doing the breach mechanic, and then we kill the bosses that Maven spawns at the end, but we do not kill the final boss because the final boss has 3 phases, so you can't really kill it too quickly, which means that you get all of the extra bosses from Maven, and you do not get the, you don't get to have to run a bunch of like maps just to get the Maven bosses. And the reason why you do this is because the extra bosses from Maven, they can drop Awakened gems and they can drop maps as well, like Conquer maps and stuff like that. I've made a large majority of my bubblegum currency by just selling Conquer and maps. Now they are going down in price significantly. Like a good example is like Shaper Guardian maps are going to like 5C per. Like there are more Shaper Guardians being made in the market than people are running right now because, you know, Shaper is a fight that like takes forever and a half to do. So like who wants to do it, right? Especially with like Chimera existing, right? Like who wants to do Chimera fight over and over again when you have to wait 5 billion years for it to finish its RP session? So that's why those are getting a little bit cheaper. And by the day, and of course everyone's doing destructive play early on because it's actually really good for progression because it allows you to get your 4 stones quickly, and destructive play is just becoming more common. But heist has been great. That has been great. I've been farming breach a lot. I've been trying to craft my own gear with breach, but it seems like as though we're not going to be able to get a quiver that's better than the quiver that I currently have, no matter what I try with the new mechanic, at least from what I've seen. So I've been more focusing on graphs. Now that's actually something interesting because I have improved my graphs. So the one that I was using before for defenses, I was using a one that gives me sap to enemies when I press the button. We have ditched that one in favor of this one instead. The idea here is we make a little bit of a bubble like steel skin on ourselves for elemental damage whenever we apply exposure, and we're applying exposure all the time because we have exposure on hit. That's working really well. And we also have increased duration for that buff. And we also get 2% max res for that as well, which let me drop the max res on my tree. And that graph has been amazing for keeping myself alive from elemental damage hits. Like, for instance, those fireballs that were murking me earlier, like, they don't kill me. I can actually face tank them for Aelith so she doesn't get murked by them, right? Like, that's been great. And just this one specifically, if you're playing like any build that has consistent uptime of, you know, applying exposure on hit, it's absolutely amazing. I can 100% recommend it. It's just up all the time, as long as you get like a little bit of a duration roll on it, right? And then for the Zoth one, I've kept the same. I haven't really changed the Zoth one. There are some other ones that are more defensive than the Zoth one. There's like a Molten Shell that like applies Ash on hit, but I don't find that very consistent. I like the consistency of just shooting and getting Ash constantly. It makes it so that we don't have to run a, you know, a Polaric Devastation, which opens up one of our ring slots for running a minus mana cost ring. The reason why this is important is, like, when you're playing a build like this, we just want to rely upon Lightning Golem's mana regen. We don't want to have to rely upon other mana regen in the build, and that means that we have to run minus mana costs on our amulet, and we have to run minus mana costs on our ring. And if we were running Polaric Devastation, we couldn't run the Pyre, and the Pyre is a lot of increased damage. Now, of course, you could eventually dump the Pyre. One thing about the Pyre, though, I do plan on getting rid of it eventually for a Barracks Respite with the Explode mod, preferably the Shock Explode, and then, you know, the Shock Explode will ignite, and then Prolif, another thing, yada, yada, yada. At least that's the plan currently. And then, of course, eventually you'd want a double barracks, but that's like 70 divs right now as the recording of this video. That's very expensive. But yeah, those are the main things about the character. Now, how much currency have I put in the character so far? If I was to like be a betting man right now, I think I would be at around like 8 to 9 div invested in total. Like I said, I'm sitting on a lot of div. It's hard to say too because I've crafted a few pieces of gear as well, but I've been sitting on a lot of divines right now. Mainly, like I said, is because I don't want to invest into the character again because I want to actually make an update, because I don't want to like keep you guys in the dust. You know, I want to actually show you guys like, hey, this is like the midpoint and we're about to go in the final investment. Now, about that, we are going to finish this character when I get to like 10 million DPS. That's plenty for most content in the game, and like I might try to do an Uber or two as well at that point, but it won't be like the smoothest thing ever. My plan is to stop at 10 million DPS, mainly because I want to play other builds in the league. Like, there's a lot of other builds I want to play, a lot of exciting stuff. There's just too much to play right now, right? I was like, there's way too much to mess around with the Bloodline Ascendancies. I'm really excited for them, so we're going to stop this one early. Also, as well, I just have this genuine philosophy that like a league starter, or at least you know, one that's meant to like just get your Atlas progression done and all that. It's just meant to get your Atlas progression done and then farm for the next build, which is should be more of like a quote unquote blaster build. Now, there are ways where you can just like start the blaster build, like a good example, like Pal right now, a friend of mine, he's playing Kinetic Blast of Clustering right now, and he started with that. And it just took him a little bit of time to get it off the ground, and then bam, now all of a sudden it's a blaster build. But it took a little bit to get there. While Conflagration in Blaster into Charthus, no matter how you cut it, it's not gonna like be super blaster. But the Scorch Boots have made the clear feel amazing, by the way. I'm gonna try with the Barracks Respite. We're gonna see how well that goes, like eventually with the pops and stuff like that. I am gonna swap strats into probably a Scarab farming strat. I like farming T17s. That's like one of my more favorite things to do over the past few leagues when I've played casually, is farming T17. So we're going to try that and have fun with that. But with all that being said, this has been Dread. I'll have to go do something else. Bye.